The musty smell of antiquity enveloped me as soon as I stepped into the neglected bazaar. The walls seemed closer than they actually were, and every corner appeared to hide its own secrets. I had never been a collector of antiques or a fan of old things, but something compelled me to visit this bazaar that day. Maybe it was that strange voice in my head whispering, "Try it, nothing bad will happen." On one of the tables, among the clutter and dust, I saw it, an amulet, made of some metal that seemed older than time itself. At its center was a carved figure of a woman with blurred facial features. She looked as if nature itself had tried to erase her from memory. "How much for this?" I asked the vendor, an elderly man who seemed perpetually tired of life. He stared at me for a long moment, looking back and forth between me and the amulet as if deciding whether to answer. "You don't need it," he finally said, turning his attention to a magazine. "What do you mean? It's just advice. But if you insist, $15. $15 for something that old?" It seemed laughable, but I bought it. I didn't know why, but something inside me compelled me to take the amulet. That evening, I placed the amulet on my bedroom table. From the first moment, it seemed out of place. The room, once cozy and familiar, now felt alien. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination, but that night something changed. At 5 a.m., a strange noise woke me up. It wasn't a knock or a creak. It was a soft, barely audible whisper. I got up, scanning the room. Everything seemed normal, but as I turned back to my bed, something in the mirror caught my attention. On the shelf next to the amulet was my phone, glowing faintly even though I hadn't touched it. The Notes app was open, displaying a single phrase, "Find her name." A shiver ran down my spine. Who could have written this? I was home alone. The next morning, I decided to return the amulet to the bazaar. But when I got there, the vendor was gone. His stall was empty, as if he had never been there. Back at home, I didn't know what to do. The amulet was still with me, and I couldn't seem to get rid of it. The longer I stared at it, the more the atmosphere around me seemed to change, and something within me too. That night, I had a strange dream. I stood in the middle of a dense forest, where there were no birds or sounds, only silence. Suddenly, she appeared before me. A woman. Her face was so blurred that I couldn't discern a single feature. "Say my name," she whispered, her voice sending shivers down my spine. "I don't know who you are. You must find me, or you will vanish." I woke up drenched in cold sweat. It was just a dream, but the sense of its reality stayed with me. The amulet lay on the shelf, and I couldn't take my eyes off it. When I turned on the light, the mirror reflected not me, but her. The woman stared directly at me, though she wasn't physically there. The next morning, I woke up with a heavy head. The dream had been so vivid that I almost didn't doubt its reality. But it wasn't just a dream. The amulet was still on the shelf, and now it looked different. The metal it was made from had darkened, and the female figure at its center was no longer as blurred. Her features were becoming clearer, as though she was watching me. "Enough," I said aloud to myself. I decided to get rid of the amulet. That same day, I left my house and went to the nearest park. There, I left it in a trash can. But when I returned home, I found it lying in the same spot on the shelf where it had been before. This paralyzed me. I remembered throwing it in the trash. How did it get back here? I tried again to discard it, this time throwing it into the river. I watched as the amulet disappeared into the water. But when I got home, there it was again, on the shelf. It was as if this object had decided it would stay with me forever. In an effort to understand what was happening, I began researching amulets with similar imagery. I found nothing. The internet, old books in the library, all silence. Maybe I wasn't looking in the right places. The next night, she returned. In my dream, "You must find me," the woman said. "But I don't even know your name." Her eyes, blurred as if in a fog, suddenly flared with red light. "She told you about me, but you didn't listen." I woke up to a sharp sound. It was my phone. The Notes app was open again, displaying a new message. "Ask the one who sold you the amulet." At the bazaar, the vendor was still absent. But one of the sellers, An older woman with a sharp gaze approached me first. "Are you looking for him?" "Yes," I replied. "Do you know where he is?" She nodded. "You've already taken the amulet, haven't you?" "Yes. But what does all this mean?" She moved closer, so close that I could smell herbs and smoke. "You must be careful. This object is cursed. It attaches itself to those seeking answers, and it won't let go." "What kind of curse is this?" "It was created by a woman who was forgotten. She died many years ago, but before her death, she cursed anyone who would take her amulet." "What was her name?" The woman shook her head. "No one remembers. That's the point. Her name has been lost. And now, those who find the amulet must uncover it again. But finding this name is no easy task. And if I don't find it, then she will take you." I had nothing left to lose. I asked the woman to tell me more, but she simply pointed east. "Search for the house at the edge of town. That's where it all began. And that's where you'll find the answers." And yet, despite my fears, something inside me urged me forward, as if I could no longer turn back. The house was just a few kilometers from my home. Forgotten and abandoned, its walls were covered with moss, and its windows were boarded up. It seemed to be waiting for someone brave enough to open its doors. When I stepped inside, the cold wrapped around me like an old friend. The air smelled of mildew and decay. On the wall hung a photograph. A woman. Her face was smudged, but her figure resembled the one on the amulet. I felt the room begin to close in around me. Every sound, every creak was deafening. But then I heard it. A whisper. "You found me, but will you find my name?" I lunged toward the photograph, but it had already disappeared. On the wall was only a black mark, as if something had burned it. I heard the whisper again, but this time it wasn't coming from the room. It was coming from the amulet, which I thought I had left at home. I stood in the empty room, clutching the amulet, which seemed to hold all the answers and all the threats. The whisper grew louder. The words were unclear, but I could make out something like, "Name." Remember, the air around me grew heavy, like a fog creeping into my lungs. Taking a few steps forward, I noticed wooden floorboards that looked slightly different from the rest. "There's something underneath," I whispered to myself. I found an old, rusty crowbar in the corner of the room and began prying up the boards. Each strike echoed like an explosion in the dead silence of the house. Beneath the floor, I found a small box wrapped in black cloth. The lid was engraved with strange symbols, but one of them resembled the same figure on the amulet. When I opened the box, an overwhelming feeling of dread washed over me. An internal voice screamed, "Don't," but I ignored it. Inside was an old diary. Its leather cover was cracked, and its pages were yellowed with age. On the first page, large letters read, "To the one who finds this, you will learn the truth, but can you accept it?" My hands trembled, but I turned to the next page. The handwriting was faint but legible. "They betrayed me. My name was erased. I cannot rest until I am remembered. My name is the key, but the path to it will be your penance." I glanced at the amulet. The whispering grew louder, almost frantic. "What do you want from me?" I shouted, but there was no response. Something in the room shifted. The shadows thickened, becoming almost alive. Symbols, similar to those on the box, appeared on the floor. They formed a circle around me. There was nowhere to retreat. Then the house's door slammed shut on its own. I was trapped inside. "Do you want the truth?" A voice suddenly asked, though it wasn't in my head. It was a woman's voice, low and cold. "Then listen." I turned, and there she was, the figure of a woman, barely visible in the dim light. Her face was hidden in shadow, but her eyes burned with the same red light I had seen in my dreams. "You took what belongs to me. The amulet?" I asked, though the answer was obvious. "It binds us. You chose this path, and now you must walk it to the end. What is this curse? How do I break it?" She moved closer. The cold radiating from her presence was almost tangible. "You must find the name. But know this. Every attempt to get closer to the truth will cost you more than you can imagine." "What does that mean?" It means that time works against you. The longer you go without an answer, the deeper you fall into this curse. And when it consumes you, you will become like me." Her eyes bore into mine, predatory and unrelenting. "How can I find this name?" I asked. She smiled. "Search your memory. It's closer than you think." And with that, she vanished, leaving me in darkness. I fled the house, but my mind was in chaos. How could I find a name? In my memory? Where? On the way home, I felt something following me. Shadows moved behind me, hiding in every corner, every tree. The amulet in my hand grew hot, as if it were alive. Back home, I sat at my desk and began writing down everything I could remember. The dream, the voices, the old woman's words. But nothing made sense. Then an idea struck me. I decided to examine the amulet more closely. I took a photo of it on my phone and zoomed in. On its metallic surface, words were etched that I hadn't noticed before. "At the end lies your answer." What did this mean? The end of what? My life? The journey? At that moment, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number appeared on the screen. Contained a single word. "Chief." I stared at the word "chief" on my phone screen as if it could explain something to me. But the meaning of the message eluded me. Just another layer of mysteries. Who had sent it? Why now? My heart pounded, and my mind raced for answers. "Chief," I repeated aloud, trying to make sense of it. The amulet in my hand grew even hotter, as if demanding my attention. A faint symbol appeared on its surface, resembling a compass. Its arrow pointed east, toward the house I had already visited. "Back there again?" I whispered, realizing I had no choice. The journey to the house was arduous. The night felt heavier, the darkness seeming eager to swallow me whole. The air smelled faintly of smoke, though no fires burned nearby. Each step echoed in my ears like thunder, and the shadows around me seemed to move with intent. When I reached the house, I noticed it had changed. The boarded-up windows were now uncovered, and a dim light glowed from one of them. Impossible. I distinctly remembered the house being abandoned. "You've returned," said the familiar voice as I crossed the threshold. In a dark corner of the room, she stood. Her face was now clearer. Deep black eyes, marble-like skin, and faint scars running from her lips to her chin. "You're starting to understand, aren't you?" Her voice was as cold as winter's breath. "Chief," I muttered. "What does it mean?" She only smiled. In that moment, the amulet began to emit a faint red glow. On the floor before me, new symbols appeared, forming a circle. This time, words were written within it. The old, indecipherable script felt hauntingly familiar. I leaned down to read. "The name is written in blood. Read between the lines." "Between the lines?" I asked, looking at her. "What does that mean?" She raised her hand and pointed at the diary I had found earlier in the house. "Open it again. But be ready for what you'll see." I opened the diary. This time, new entries began appearing on its pages, burning themselves into the paper as I watched. "My name is..." But the name was obscured by smears of blood. On another page, there was a drawing of the house with a caption. "When the last voice falls silent, the name will be revealed." I looked up at her. "What is the voice? And why must it fall silent?" "It is not a voice. It is you," she said. "The name lives within you. But to find it, you must face all your fears." Her words were cryptic and chilling, but I understood. The answer lay somewhere inside me. To find this name, I had to uncover something I'd buried deep within myself. "It was you," she suddenly said. "You betrayed me." "What?" I stared at her, confused. "You knew my name, but you erased it. You made me forget. And now I'm here to remind you." My heart raced. Her words felt too personal. But how could that be? I had never met her. Or had I? She began to fade into the air, leaving me alone with the diary and the amulet. The light in the house dimmed further, and the shadows seemed to come alive, watching my every move. I opened the diary again and started reading. The words formed a story of betrayal and erasure. A woman, loved and feared, had been erased from memory, but not from existence. She sought her name to reclaim her power. On the last page, it read, "A name is not just a word. It's a memory you've tried to bury." In that moment, I understood. The answer lay in my past. But what was it? What had I forgotten? Grabbing the diary and the amulet, I left the house. The shadows no longer followed me, but her voice echoed in my mind. "The name is closer than you think. But can you say it?" When I returned home, the mirror in the hallway reflected not me, but her. This time, she whispered, "Say my name, or you will disappear." The mirror trembled with her voice. The words reverberated like echoes, reaching every corner of my consciousness. "Say my name, or you will disappear." I placed the amulet on the table, trying to calm the panic. In my head, fragments of the diary, the old woman's words, her smile, and the mirrors swirled together. It was all too real. But the worst part was the feeling that she was right. I had forgotten something. I had done something I couldn't even forgive myself for. "The name is closer than you think." That phrase repeated in my head like a haunting melody. Could it be something from my past? But what? I began searching for answers in my childhood. Long hours were spent poring over the diary and examining the amulet for clues. Nothing made sense until I found an old box of photographs gathering dust in my closet. Among the photos was one that immediately caught my eye. In it, I stood beside a little girl. Her face had been worn away by time, but something about her posture and dark hair felt familiar. On the back of the photo was a handwritten note. "Forever together." My hands trembled as I held the photo. I couldn't remember who she was. I was certain I had no sisters or close childhood friends. Who was she? "You're starting to remember," whispered the voice behind me. I spun around. No one was there, but the mirror in the corner of the room faintly reflected her face. She no longer hid in shadows. Her features were clear. Deep eyes, dark hair, and a sorrowful gaze filled with bitterness. "Who are you?" I shouted, though I already knew the answer. Memories began to surface from beneath the veil of time. Her name. In my youth, I had known her. We were friends. No, more than that. She was someone I had trusted with my secrets, someone I had spent every free moment with. But something had happened. Something terrible. Her name flickered in my mind but never fully surfaced. It was like a half-remembered melody that slipped away the moment I tried to grasp it. The amulet pulsed in my hand, burning my skin. Then I realized. It held the key to her name but was also the lock that kept the truth hidden. When I returned to the house, everything looked different. It had changed. The walls were gone, replaced by an endless field of mirrors. In every reflection, I saw her. She stood at a distance, but her voice echoed nearby. "You did this to me." "What did I do?" I shouted, clutching the amulet. "I don't remember. You took my name. You took me. And now you're paying for it." Every word hit me like a blow, but there was a grain of truth in it. I had forgotten her, but not by accident. My heart raced as I realized that it wasn't coincidence. A single mirror appeared before me, larger than all the others. In it, I saw myself, but not the present version of me. It was me from the past, young, carefree, and cruel. On the other side of the mirror stood her. She was pleading. "Leave me alone," the younger me said in the reflection. "You're taking my life. Now it's your turn to disappear." Those words were venomous. I had said them, but why? I couldn't remember the motives, only the outcome. She looked at me. Her eyes were filled with pain, but she spoke. "To make it right, you must remember my name. But remember, a name is more than a word. It's what you feel." The amulet glowed brighter and brighter. Then I understood. Her name had always been with me. It was in every memory, every step, every tear. "Maria," I whispered. The world around me exploded with light. The mirrors shattered, and the house returned to its normal state. The amulet broke apart in my hand, leaving only ashes. But I didn't feel relief. Outside the window, I saw her. She stood on the street, smiling, but her eyes still held that same sadness. "This is only the beginning," she said before vanishing. Weeks passed after that night. The amulet was gone, and I hoped the curse had disappeared with it. But peace never returned. I often caught myself feeling as though something or someone was invisibly watching me. Every night I dreamed. In my dreams, Maria stood beside me in a quiet field. She was silent, but her gaze spoke louder than words. There was reproach in her eyes, but also sympathy. Each time, I woke up drenched in sweat, trying to determine if it had all been real. One morning, I found the same diary on my desk that I had left in the abandoned house. But now it was open to a page that hadn't been there before. Written in red ink, it said, "Freedom is just another form of captivity." I closed the diary and tried convincing myself that it was just my mind playing tricks on me. But something told me this wasn't over. One evening, on my way home from work, I noticed a strange light in the neighboring house, which had long stood empty. In the window, I saw something familiar, the reflection of the amulet. My heart began to race again. I moved closer, but the window was empty. That night, I received a message on my phone. The number was unknown. The message contained only one word: remember. I could no longer tell where reality ended and my imagination began. I felt compelled to return to where it all began. The bazaar was unchanged, musty and filled with old things. But the man who had sold me the amulet was gone. His place was taken by another woman. I approached her and asked about the amulet. She looked at me with a smile that felt eerily familiar. "The amulet always finds its next keeper," she said. "And now you're part of it." I wanted to ask her what she meant, but she turned away and began helping another customer. That night, I realized I hadn't been freed. I had simply become another bearer of the curse. It no longer demanded anything of me, but I felt its weight every day. The mirrors in my home became opaque, reflecting more than just me. Once, when I accidentally touched the frame of a mirror, I saw an inscription on its surface that hadn't been there before. "Who comes after you?" I didn't know the answer, but now I understood the most important thing. This story wasn't about me. It was about everyone who seeks answers they aren't ready to hear. The end, or the beginning?